Hello, I'm Dave Epstein. Welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom, and today I want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite ferns, the ostrich fern. So this is my ostrich fern. I'm going to plant this, and I'm kind of walking around the yard thinking about where does it go. We'll take a look at a couple of areas where I think I might put it. Ostrich fern, if you have ever grown or eaten, I should say, fiddleheads, that's what you're eating. You're eating the ostrich fern. Now, there are a few other ferns that are edible, but the fiddleheads that you buy in the store usually is an ostrich fern. And you can find folks that will grow these. You don't want to go digging up ostrich ferns out of the wild and then planting them. Because we don't like to dig things out of the wild for obvious reasons. But there are plenty of places where you can find ostrich ferns and plant them, and you can create a whole little area of them, and then eventually, once they're established, you could harvest them. As you can see here, this ostrich fern is in the pot. I really like the way it looks. Now, it's very small right now. They get huge, 4 to maybe 6 feet. You can see here, full sun to full shade. If it's in full sun, I prefer to put it in a moist area. Otherwise, I find that the fronds burn a little bit. And if it's in too much shade, it just doesn't get that big. I did plant some ostrich fern back here, and you can see they look okay. It's just a little too shady for them, so they're not getting as big as I'd like. And I might actually move these at some point into an area with a little more light. All right, so I'm going to give you a little insight into my thinking here. I don't usually do this, but we'll see what you think. So this is one of my shade gardens, and I'm thinking about that ostrich fern I just showed you. Where does it go? And I go through this a lot with a mature garden. Like, I don't have a specific spot for it, but I know I want to grow it. So I could put it here. Obviously, ferns are doing well. That's Japanese painted fern, and that looks pretty nice. I like this little garden, but the ostrich fern can be aggressive, and so putting it back here, it may become problematic, whereas these ferns, yeah, they're spreading a little bit, but they're not going to spread too much. And, you know, I'll show you what too much looks like here. I've never done this director's view, so if you like it, let me know in the comments section. If you don't, we won't do it again. But, you know, here's an area where I've planted some ferns, and a lot of these are hay-scented ferns, and it's just taken over, and I don't mind it. But it clearly means that, you know, I can't really get anything else to grow. So I could plant it a little further back. It's got some dappled sun back here. You know, this area back here certainly is moist enough to handle the fern. And so what I might do is clear an area here where it gets sort of some good afternoon sun, but it's fairly wet. So this is fairly far from the house. I think that my thinking here would be, you know, if I were to do it here, I just got to remember to come back here. And maybe it goes here, maybe it goes somewhere else. Let me show you what I'm thinking. I actually think I might have made my decision just in making this video. So if you look here, here's a little area right adjacent to the wetlands. And I think that I've got some ferns here. I think I'm probably going to take out this chameleon plant. It's kind of invasive. It runs. And put it underneath this blueberry bush, and then that fern will be able to really thrive in this moist environment. It's got quite a bit of sun, so it should get pretty big. They can get to be 4 to 6 feet tall if they're really happy, so maybe putting it a little bit behind the blueberry bush there and getting rid of some of that. And that way also it's fairly close to the house, so that, you know, if I'm in the kitchen and I'm like, oh, I want to use fiddleheads, I can actually, you know, get out here fairly quickly and remember that it's here, whereas if it's way in the back, I might be less likely to harvest them. Remember, these guys are going to get big. 4 to 6 feet is not unheard of if they're happy. If they don't have enough water, like the ones I showed you by the fence, then they're not going to be nearly as large. But it's a beautiful fern. It's an easy to grow fern, very forgiving. And actually, if it's happy, it's going to spread everywhere, and you may be giving it away to your friends because you have so much of it. So, ostrich fern, a really nice plant, sun, shade, but if it's in the sun, remember, plenty of moisture. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.